So, just to be clear, I'm also the Delivery Director for BIM Level 2, working with the UK BIM Task Group, and I also chair the BIM Stewardship Group, or Working Group, for BIM departments under the Cabinet Office guidance. So, lots of ties in. What I will say is, thank you to Jeremy for that great keynote speech. Some of my slides are a bit similar to Jeremy's, but I think that's where we are in BIM. Take one set of data, use it several times. That's exactly what we're going to do today. So, no, it's fine. I think my take on this is going to be slightly different. So I wanted to build us up a bit of a back picture on the complexities, actually, of trying to make massive changes within our industry. So, for sure, it's a really important industry, probably 6-7% of the UK's GDP. 2.9 million employees, circa sort of 10% of the employment in the UK. So hugely important, and that's been recognised by government. I think the complexity around all this is that we've got some tier ones, but we've got a whole raft of SMEs, micro SMEs, sole providers. So to try and get a big change with an industry is very difficult. So hats off really to UK government and industry for really sort of taking on the 2016 mandate. That all started with the government construction strategy. And the construction strategy, as you know, is a sort of framework of work streams. So it's not just on BIM. One of the major recognisable outcomes of the strategy was obviously the BIM mandate. But there was lots of other things, and I'll touch on those as I go through. But there was a big push on efficiency, and probably the construction strategy in the early days was really about capital cost savings of between sort of 10 and 20% on their on departmental baselines over the spending review period that we've just finished. But the whole reason, the whole rationale behind that was we wanted to get a good deal for public sector budgets. We need to deliver social and economic infrastructure, and unless we can get the most out of our money, and you know, UK, we're in we've got fiscal challenges. This is the way that we're going to do it. So BIM is very, very important, and it's seen as that. Wider than BIM, so the whole digital agenda is seen as a really important way of doing that. So the pool. So we've had mandate for level 2 BIM. That's a really good pool, of course. ITT requirements. BIM is going out now with most of the departmental projects. Is it all? No, but it's all on there. It's all the big projects at the moment. But there's a whole raft of reasons why it's not going out with all of them. One is that there's some small projects, and actually, is the industry ready for the really small projects? We need to build maturity up, generally in the supply chain. So eventually it will be all projects, but also departments have got some sort of legacy framework. So it's very difficult just to sort of retro lump different changes on existing contract conditions without causing all sorts of problems. So the intent's there. The departmental shoulder is really behind the wheel, so we will get there for sure. Operational data requirements. More and more departments are looking at beyond the capital data and how can they use that data in operations to drive better outcomes. And the push. So a lot of these you'll be familiar with. It's actually, we need, Mark Bew always used to use the phrase, or still uses the phrase, for this to develop, we've got to leave the complexity within the supply chain. So that's the supply chain being able to innovate and get themselves in a position that they can win work through BIM, because that requirement for BIM will increasingly be asked. Need for better efficiency, and I'll come on to that again in a second. But better productivity, competitive advantage, de-risking operations. We have got a bit of a skills gap within BIM. So being more efficient about the way that we use BIM is going to some extent, mitigate that. So it's about, yes, we need more people, but we need to be using the resources that we've got a lot more efficiently. There is an unexpected one. A push and mice. Have I gone mad? So there was a global construction review, and mice sabotaged crucial Brussels tunnel repairs by eating plans. In a BIM world, in a digital data world, at least mice can't eat the data. We've got it secure under the BIM, security-minded BIM, but actually it's also in a central source that's protected. So at least we haven't got mice that can eat the plans going forward. It's a funny article, that. It's well worth reading. So I said that there's always been a big push. Construction is really is a central part of what we do. It's a big part of the national GDP. And since 1934, there's been about 70 reports that have been issued and looked into on the construction efficiency. So it's not something that's new. This is something that's been going for years. And when you start to look at some of the aspects that have been in those reports, so 1934, Reaching for the Skies report looked at the sort of standard of performance in UK construction. The 1944 Simons report was commissioned to investigate placing and management of contracts. You know, stuff that we do now around collaborative working, how we're going to put BIM into collaborative working contracts. We're still talking about a lot of the same things. The 1967 Potts report to implement some of the findings of the 1964 Banwell report. But when you look at what it is, it's about focused on team relationships, construction contracts, construction documentation, and look in detail at the traditional separation between design and construction. They're things that we're trying to change now in BIM. So, you know, if we're not totally there yet, if we haven't got there in 4 years, actually we haven't got there since 1934. So I think we need to pat ourselves on the back of what we have done in the past 4 years. So a little flag wave there. The bit in red there, the Potts report failed to gain traction, and this was lifted out of the report because it said that we went back to normalising practice because it was dominated by the industry. I think the thing with BIM Level 2, and certainly BIM Level 3 as it comes along, but BIM Level 2 is its clients, its industry, its private sector, its public sector, all working together to implement BIM Level 2. So I think that's going to be an ongoing journey. But 2015, fixing the foundations, George Osborne penned a report. Productivity is the challenge of our time. It's what makes nations stronger and families richer. Growth comes either from employment or higher productivity. Construction is one of the highest employment or a high employment sector, and productivity is what we've been trying to drive. So right until 2015, from 1934, we've been trying to improve the way that we do things. So the mission that was set by the construction strategy in 6 stick-it notes, enable Level 2, the wrapper. So when we started off, we didn't have all the Level 2 documents. You know, BIM didn't have a boundary put around it. Help raise the industry and government's awareness. I'll come on to that. That's something that we had to do. We've gone from 2011, when we're trying to share the idea of BIM, create the documents. Level 2 hypothesis. Does it work? How many trial projects have we done? So we had to develop the ideas, we had to raise awareness and test the hypothesis. Global leadership in digital transformation. Well, we've heard from Jeremy where we've got with that. We're playing a key role within Europe and wider. So Mark Bew, I don't know how he does it, but he spends his life global hopping for a few days in Australia and then off to India or wherever he goes. But he's flying the flag really for what we're doing in the UK. So we are becoming a really good sort of centre of knowledge. Create a solid foundation for Level 3 BIM, yes, and leave a strong legacy, which I'll touch on. So what have we done? So over the past 4 years, UK BIM Task Group was formed in 2011, and we've been working with government departments through BIM support officers to help them map their processes. What did they do? How does BIM overlay on what they do? What are their key decision points? So in BIM speak, you know, we help them create what their plain language questions was. We then help them develop the plain language questions into employees' information requirements. We then worked with them to develop some trial projects and work with their supply chains. So we started to bring the push and the pull together. Draft and issue of the key BIM documents. That says 7 key documents. Apologies, there's more than that. But nonetheless, we've got those documents. They're there now on the BIM Level 2 site, which I'll touch on in a second. And the Task Group Legacy. Task Group Legacy is there. You know, we've been building it up over a number of years. We've got the BIM hubs. We've got the BIM 4 groups. We've got the BIM Stewardship Group, which is now the BIM Working Group, which is part of a structure that reports up to Cabinet Office, up to the Government Construction Client Board, and on upwards into Cabinet Office. So there's still a really big focus on making sure that BIM Level 2 works, and actually later Level 3. And all that is still linked in to trying to develop and deliver on the Construction 2025 targets. So there's a real strong focus that's been developed, is in place, and will be maintained. So just doing a bit of a sort of check sheet. Government construction strategy, it was there to try and drive project costs down, capital project costs by 10 to 20% over the past period, promote early contractor involvement, improve client leadership, government imperative to use BIM, of course, in the mandate, but acknowledging importance in operation. So bringing the end user in early. So this is the government soft landing stuff. So I would say that I could put a tick by all those. You know, they're in place, they're being developed. Are they all fully mature? No. But actually, are we on have we got the structure and the impetus in place to make them mature over the next period? Absolutely, yes. So I would give them all a tick. And of course, they're all there to still deliver on the vision for 2025, which is 30% lower cost, 50% faster. But actually, working in a digital environment will start to attract different people into the industry. So we'll start doing things differently. And I think that's also a big delivery of 2025. And of course, sustainability, reduced carbon is all part of that. So I said that the construction strategy was part of there was a framework of requirements. BIM sits in the middle of that, absolutely, and the great things that come out of BIM about data and the ability to generate 3D designs, which massively help stakeholder engagement. But there's all these other things around the outside about the intelligent client function. I think departments now are really picking up on that intelligent client function. They've thought about what they want. They've thought about their asset management strategies. And along with big pressure from central government and the government property unit to reduce the cost of their assets, reduce their asset base, they really are starting to sort of pick up that intelligent client role. Collaborative procurement. I used to chair the New Forms of Construction Procurement Board, where we were looking at new forms of construction procurement in two-stage open book, cost-led, IPI, for instance. So there's been a lot of work done around new forms of procurement and all those other issues around there. Lean delivery, when I was the capital delivery director within MOJ, we did a lot around lean delivery. I think Matt might touch on some of that, but Matt's presentation after mine will show you how far government departments have come in terms of the way they operate. And of course, design for manufacture, build off-site, standardisation, all plays a massive part going forward in that, in the delivery of the construction strategy. So we haven't just created documents and let them wither on the vine. They've been updated. So the government soft landings initiative is now part of BS 8536. So that's an updated version of GSL. The government construction strategy, it's now been updated to the 1620 strategy. And of course, we've got the Construction 2025, which has got a new reformed Construction Leadership Council. So it's all still live. It's all still got a key focus on delivering BIM Level 2. So back in autumn last year, I presented at the Institute of Civil Engineers BIM conference, and we put some stretch targets in place. And I think you've got to acknowledge departments are really up for delivering BIM Level 2. So when we spoke to them about, okay, let's put a stretch target about every project or every project that we're going to use BIM on, it has an EIR, that you've got standard departmental EIRs that you can use. They all put their hand up. The stretch target around for October about electronic validation of data, they were all said, actually, this is a challenge, but yeah, we're up for this, and we'll work to try and make it happen. So just going through the things that we said back in October, November, the documentation and guidance is now all on BIM-level2.org. So that's the sort of static site for the Level 2 documentation. Centrally government departments will provide a complete employees information requirements with all contracts. Departments have got EIR documents. They will be going out with invitation to tender documents. They will be expecting BIM execution plans to come back, and increasingly they will be taking those BIM execution plans as a major scoring point on the award of work. So it's becoming a real requirement. Ongoing support of Level 2 programme will remain with the BIM Task Group in terms of from April up to October. And they'll maintain the BIMTaskGroup.org website, so there'll still be sort of newsletters on there, and there'll be more case studies that start to come on now over the next few months. And the Cabinet Office BIM Working Group, which I chair, that's got all the key government departments on it, and a lot of the big infrastructure project providers as well. We're going to start to take up some of the championing of BIM Level 2 and start to challenge the industry, or continue that challenge with the industry and working with the industry to make sure that BIM Level 2 maintains a focus. And of course, October 16, we are working to that all departments have the capability to electronically validate data, which is really important to really start to embed BIM Level 2 in business as usual. And BIM Task Group will start to engage more with the delivery of Digital Built Britain. So, Budget 2016, I won't go into this too much, but again, a focus, a real commitment around Level 3, about taking Level 2 onto the next level with a digital building economy. It's not going away. So, just reflecting on some of the savings. So, these are diagrams that are in the government benchmarking report, which you can get from gov.org website. Cabinet Office, just put in departmental savings and you'll get the report. About £1.4 billion was saved over the past 4-year period, spending review period. And they're the trajectories. Down's good in this case because it's the benchmark is at the top there, 0910, and they're the trajectories of the departments. So there's been some real benefits out of not only BIM, but that diagram about procuring better, working with our supply chains better, doing things differently. They've all contributed to significant savings. Again, so the BIM uptake. Over the past 4 years, we've had NBS surveys and Building Magazine surveys, and there's been a lot of surveys done recently, of course, but they've shown a steady trend of people becoming BIM aware, using BIM, fully Level 2, part Level 2, but we've created a really good trajectory of people using BIM and raising awareness and expectation. And what's interesting is that I think where on the early ones, some people would say that they were using BIM Level 2. I think as their awareness has grown, they've now become, actually, perhaps we're not doing Level 2 BIM because we understand what it actually is now. So I think people's maturity in their awareness has grown, and their implementation is growing. So I think we've definitely delivered on that. This is a very rubbish picture of Mark Bew. So I apologise on behalf of Mark Bew, but that's a Philpism mucking about with one of Mark's pictures. But nonetheless, Mark said three years ago people were asking, what is BIM? It's absolutely right. The next year is how can we do it? And now we're in a discussion about have we got the capacity to service all the requirement that we need. So we've gone from what is it to blimey, we're getting so many, or the opportunity is so big now, can we service it? So the importance of training, the importance of creating a more efficient way that we use our workforce will help us push that, or deflect that requirement. So the rate of adoption, I've got to be quite quick now. The rate of adoption, I'm just about to update this graph, but in 2014 we had about £10 billion worth of work that was out there. Environment Agency, MOJ, Highways England, EFA, they're projects that are going out now are largely requesting BIM. So in terms of the trajectory lines up to 2016, you can see that the BIM project pipeline value is going to grow exponentially. Level 2 package we've spoken about, and it's all on the BIM-level2.org website. So that's the wrapper that's been created. So just quickly, checkpoint. Level 2 defined and documents issued. I would say that was a tick. I think we've done that. Government departments, BIM aware and ready. That's a tick. Why? Because they've got all their EIR documents in place. BIM is incorporated in commercial tenders and contracts. Their pipeline now is largely taken up with BIM projects that are due to go out. They're working on the electronic validation. So I would say that the mandate requirements as set have been met. So certainly in terms of the general spirit and the growing awareness of BIM, I think we're absolutely there. So the journey continues. This is the last slide. The journey continues. 2011 mandate and the 2011 BIM strategy created the need for BIM. But since then, Level 2 has been defined, departmental and industries awareness has been growing. So I would say now that departments are green for awareness. But if you remember the Murray Walker phrase, as soon as the lights went green, his phrase was go, go, go. And I think that's what's happening now. We're at a period that we're now going to go, go, go for the race for maturity to start to deliver the real benefits of BIM to take us on to Level 3 and Level 4 and beyond. So that's me finished. Thank you very much.